Welcome to the Explainer. We're breaking down a really crucial text today, just 5 verses from Matthew chapter 27. It's all about that final walk to the cross. So let's just jump right in. Okay, so you might be thinking, how can 5 little verses hold so much weight? We're talking prophecy, history, some really profound symbolism, all packed in there. We're going to go verse by verse, from the city gates right up to the cross, and unpack all of it together. All right, so first up, a compelled cross-bearer. Our story really kicks off in verse 32, and it starts with this, totally unexpected encounter on the way to the execution. So as they're coming out of the city, Jesus is just physically spent. After the trial, the beatings, he's struggling under the weight of that crossbeam. And the Roman soldiers, they're not exactly known for their patience. They just want to get this over with. So they don't even think twice. They just grab some random guy from the crowd.
Now, who was this guy, Simon of Cyrene? Well, he was a visitor from North Africa. And here's what's so fascinating. Mark's gospel mentions his sons, Alexander and Rufus, by name. Now, why would he do that? Because they likely became well-known figures in the early Christian community. Just think about that. This totally random, violent, and unjust moment for Simon, being forced to carry this cross, somehow becomes this foundational story for his entire family's faith. An ordinary guy gets pulled quite literally into the most extraordinary event in history.
Okay, let's move on. The procession reaches its destination, which has this pretty grim name, the place of a skull. Let's see what verse 33 tells us. So they get to this place outside Jerusalem's walls called Golgotha. It literally means the place of a skull. Now, nobody knows for sure why it was called that. Maybe the hill looked like a skull, or maybe it was just, a place of death. Either way, the name itself is just this stark, unavoidable reminder of what this place was all about. All right, next up we have this moment, a bitter cup refused. Before the crucifixion actually begins, verse 34 tells us about an offer that was made, and more importantly, an offer that was rejected. So the soldiers offer him something to drink. And this was actually a tradition, believe it or not, a small act of mercy. It was basically a primitive painkiller, a narcotic, to try and dull the senses before the absolute agony of crucifixion set in. Now you might notice a slight difference between the Gospels here. Matthew calls it vinegar mixed with gall, Mark calls it sour wine with myrrh, but honestly, they're both describing the same thing. It's a bitter, pain-dulling drink, a sedative, really. And here's the key part. Jesus refuses it. He tastes it, knows exactly what it is, and says no. Why would he do that? Well, it seems to be this incredibly deliberate choice. He was determined to face the full weight of what was happening with total consciousness, with a completely clear mind. No anesthetic, physical or mental. He was going to endure it all, willingly. Okay, this next part in verse 35 is just incredible. We get to this moment of prophecy by casting lots. What seems like a totally mundane action by a few soldiers, it turns out to be anything but. So as they're crucifying him, what are the soldiers doing? They're dividing up his clothes. Think about the chilling indifference of that. To them, this is just another day at the office, another execution. They are completely oblivious to who this person is, and they're just focused on splitting up his few belongings. Now, this was actually standard procedure. The condemned person's stuff was basically a part of the job for the executioners. So they split his outer clothes into 4 parts, one for each of them. But then they get to his tunic, and it's seamless, woven in one single piece. It's too nice to tear up. So what do? They cast lots for it, which is just an old way of saying they gambled for it. They probably rolled some dice to see who got to keep it. And this is where it gets mind-blowing. This seemingly trivial act of soldiers gambling over a piece of clothing, it was predicted 1,000 years earlier. Right there in Psalm 22, it says, "They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture." These soldiers, just doing their job, had absolutely no idea they were fulfilling an ancient prophecy in real time. It's just staggering. And that brings us to our final verse for today, verse 36. And it leaves us with this quiet, but honestly really haunting image of the soldiers just watching. Their work is done. The man is on the cross. So what do? They sit down and they watch. That's it. They just become these hardened passive observers, guarding the site, maybe chatting, just passing the time, while a man they just nailed to a piece of wood hangs there dying. The casual brutality of that single line is just, wow. So when you step back and look at it,
From a total stranger being forced to carry the cross, to a prophecy coming true over a roll of the dice, to the cold, bored guards just watching, these 5 verses are absolutely packed with meaning. It's a really dense, powerful story. So it makes you wonder, what's the most powerful detail in all of this for you? What's the thing that really sticks?